Hey YouTubers, welcome to the Cyber Overwatch channel. I am Pragmatic1. In this video, I will be doing a walkthrough of the HackTheBox 2 million vulnerable host. I will provide a comprehensive walkthrough covering the stages from Reconnaissance to post-exploitation. This will include port scanning, service enumeration, parameter tampering, command injection, unsecured credentials, and privilege escalation. If you find this content informative and you are interested in cybersecurity, please like and subscribe to the Cyber Overwatch channel. Also, for more free content, please regularly check back on www.cybersec.com. 2 million is a vulnerable host created by TRX and the CyberGeek to allow users to practice ethical hacking techniques. This virtual host is accessible from the HackTheBox virtual training lab. I went ahead and started the target host 2 million. As shown on the screen, it has been assigned an IP. The first step in the process is information gathering, which includes conducting port scans and service enumeration. For active information gathering, I'm using nmap to scan the target host. I'll execute the command shown in the CLI. Since the goal is to identify all open ports, I'll start by scanning all 65,535 ports using the -p- flag to detect any services running on non-standard ports. The nmap scan completed, and I can see that port 22 SSH and port 80 HTTP are open on the target host. Now that I have identified which ports are open on the target host, I'll perform a more in-depth scan to gather detailed information about the services running on those ports. I'll run the following nmap command shown in the CLI. The -(s)(svc) options performs a send scan, a script scan, and a version detection scan. The -p22,80 limits the scan to port 22 and port 80, which are identified as open. Just as a precaution, I like to run the -a flag also, which enables OS detection, version detection, script scanning, and trace route. -T4 speeds up the scan by making it more aggressive, which is generally safe in a controlled environment. This scan will help me better understand the services and potential vulnerabilities running on the target. The in-depth nmap scan has completed and revealed some useful information. Port 22 is running OpenSSH version 8.9p1 and the host operating system is identified as Ubuntu. On port 80, Nginx appears to be running and the OS again is detected as Ubuntu. When accessing the host via a web browser on port 80, it redirects to http://2million.htb. Nmap's OS detection also confirms that the target is running a Linux-based operating system. Navigating to http:// the target host IP results in server not found error, which typically indicates that the host name needs to be mapped to the IP address in the local host file. I'll run the following command shown in the CLI in order to add the host name and IP to my host file. After running the echo command and refreshing my browser, I am now able to access the 2million.htb webpage. With the site now accessible, it's a good idea to begin exploring the web application. This includes reviewing the page source, manually browsing to discover accessible resources, and using a web fuzzing tool like GoBuster or Fuff to crawl the website and uncover hidden directories and files. Before manually browsing the site, I'll start by running the following Fuff command to crawl the site and see what information I can uncover. In this command, the -u specifies the target URL, the -w defines the word list to use, the -t sets the number of concurrent threads, and the -r tells Fuff to follow the redirects. I'll stop the crawl right now. I'm receiving a lot of 200 OK responses, more than anticipated. To streamline the process, I'll run the same Fuff command and redirect the output to a file named fuff_output.txt. Upon reviewing the fuff_output.txt file, I found numerous 200 OK responses, particularly those with a size of 1,674 bytes, 118 words, and 46 lines. Running the command wc-l fuff_output.txt reveals that the file contains 216,547 lines, so it might be a good idea to clean up the output for easier analysis. To filter out the irrelevant entries, I use the following command shown in the CLI. The -v option inverts the match, meaning grep will select lines that do not contain the specified pattern. The -w option ensures only lines with the exact match for the number 1,674 are considered. The -E flag treats the pattern as an extended regular expression. The pattern 1,674 specifically targets lines with that number. Fuff_output.txt is the input file where grep searches for the pattern, and the operator redirects the filtered output to a new file called fuff_update.txt. After running the grep command, the fuff_update.txt file has been significantly cleaned up, reducing the number of lines to just 231. Based on the results from the web fuzzing, the first 14 pages seem like good targets to review. Upon reviewing the page source of the available pages found in the fuff output, I didn't find much useful information. I did come across something interesting in the inviteapi.min.js file on the /invite page. It appears that the file lists several potential functions or parameters. I tested each of the possible functions in the developer tools console and explored all the endpoints. I received a particularly interesting output when I entered make invite code, code, parenthesis. The returned data appeared to be encoded in ROT13 as shown on the screen. I copied the encoded data and used the website called Crypty to decode the ROT13 message. The decoded message instructs me to generate a post request using the generate API call to /API/v1/invite/generate in order to obtain an invite code. Let's give that a try. I will run the following curl command shown in the CLI and see if I get a code generated. The output looks promising. I received a 200 OK status code and the response indicates success. I also noticed the output contains data that appears to be base64 encoded. I ran the following base64 command shown in the CLI to decode the base64 encoded data. The output reveals what seems to be an invite code. Now that I have an invite code, I went to the invite page and entered the code as shown on the screen. I was presented with a registration prompt confirming that the invite code was accepted. I then entered the required information to complete the registration. I get prompted to log in and I use the information I registered with. It looks like I was able to log in successfully. I manually browsed the site and didn't find anything actionable. I have manually browsed the site and I am starting Burp Suite to see what is underneath the surface. With Burp Suite loaded, I have set the target scope as shown on the screen, along with a few other necessary configurations. I also turn on the proxy using Foxy Proxy. The web app seems to rely heavily on API. I'll dive deeper into the target app's API and explore further. I've noticed that I have a PHP session ID, which I'll likely need to include when making API calls. Using curl, I ran the following command shown in the CLI to retrieve the version of the API in use. The -H flag allows me to include my PHP session ID. I also piped the output through JQ to clean up and format the JSON response. Next, I ran the following curl command shown in the CLI to crawl the API path. The output provided a list of available endpoints. I tested several endpoints to see what information they returned. For example, when I queried the user/auth endpoint using the curl command shown in the CLI, the response indicated that I am successfully logged in and confirming my session is active. One thing to note is that it shows that I am not an admin. I ran the following curl command shown in the CLI against the admin/auth endpoint and the response returned false, which is expected as my account does not have admin rights. I've manually navigated the whole site already. I know I can download a connection pack or regenerate a VPN config file from the access page, but I haven't looked at it with Burp Suite running. I navigated to the access page where there are instructions for connecting to the HackTheBox lab via VPN. When I click the regenerate button, Burp Suite captures the request showing that the referrer is the access page and the API call used is /API/v1/user/VPN/regenerate. Upon inspecting the response, I can see that the server generated the .ovpn file and included its contents in the body of the response. I right-click the request box and I'll send the request to Repeater for further testing. Now that I have the request in Repeater, I can modify the path to see what response I get with different API endpoints. When I modify the following path with /user/auth, I get some output that shows my account is logged in and is not an admin. When I execute the /admin/auth API call, the response returns message false, which is expected since my account does not have admin privileges. I attempted to execute both get and post methods on every API endpoint listed in the API route list, but received no output. However, when I sent the put request to the /admin/settings/update endpoint, the response contained some interesting information. The status showed danger and the message stated invalid content type. For API, I know that JSON tends to be the data format used for exchanging API data. To test this out, I added the content-type application/JSON request header and I'll send it. After adding the request header content type application/JSON, I received a new response that indicated that an email parameter was missing. I paste the /user/auth output, then rename the username parameter to email, set the isAdmin to 1, and click send. The response returns ID of 13, my username, and sets isAdmin to 1. I didn't know if this worked, but luckily there was an /admin/auth endpoint I could use to verify. To confirm if my account had admin rights on the web app, I decided to run the /admin/auth API call and check the response. I sent the request and based on the output, the web app confirmed that my user account has admin privileges. The next question is, how can I exploit this? Now that my user account is supposed to have admin rights on the web app, I'll attempt to send the /admin/vpn/generate API request. Originally, when I was testing the /admin/vpn/generate API endpoint, I was receiving 401 status code errors. This was due to my account not having admin privileges. This time, however, the response returned a different message indicating that the request is missing the username parameter. I renamed the email parameter to username and sent the request. The response indicates that the request was successful and the body contains the admin.ovpn file data. Based on the output of the key file, it seems likely that the key wasn't generated by PHP, but rather the OS, possibly using something like bash. Let's run some tests. Based on the output, it appears that I can inject code via command injection. I tested this out by adding a semicolon as a command separator, followed by cat/etc/passwd and using the hash symbol as a terminator. Now that I've confirmed command injection is possible, I'll attempt to run a bash one-liner. Before I run the bash one-liner, I will start my netcat listener as shown in the CLI. I'll grab my bash reverse shell one-liner from payload all the things GitHub repository. In my request in Burp Suite, I entered my bash reverse shell one-liner as shown on the screen. I sent the request in Burp Suite, and based on the output, it looks like my netcat listener caught a shell. It looks like I'm running as www-data service account. To confirm the information, I ran the whoami command to verify the account, the pwd command to print the working directory, and the ls-la command to display the contents of the folder. Now that I know which account I'm using in my current location, I can begin host enumeration. The first step is to identify the user accounts on the target host. I ran the cd command to navigate to the home directory and then used the ls-la command to list the user home directories. Based on the output, the only folder I found was admin. I ran the cd command to change the directory to the admin folder and ran the ls-la command to view the contents. In the contents, I can see the user.txt file containing the first flag. Unfortunately, I am unable to view the contents with the current service account I'm using. Attempts to view the contents gave me a permission denied message. It looks like I will need to find a way to take over the admin account. I changed directories to the /temp folder so I can upload linps to automate some enumeration. In order to upload linps, I'll need to run my HTTP server. I'll run the following command shown in the CLI. With my HTTP server running, I ran the following wget command to download linps, which appears to be successful. I also ran the chmod command to enable the execute bit on linps and the ls-la command to verify that the execute bit was enabled. I'll run the following linps command. The -a tells linps to run all checks and the -e flag tells linps to perform extra enumeration. In the analyzing environment files section of linps, there appears to be credentials for the admin account in clear text. I decided to test whether I could log in remotely with the admin credentials using the following SSH command shown in the CLI. So far, the output looks promising. Based on the output, it looks like I was able to log in via SSH with the admin credentials found in the linps output. I ran the sudo command as shown in the CLI, and it appears that the admin account does not have any sudo privileges. I ran the ls-la command shown in the CLI to check the folder's contents. As discovered earlier, I can see the user.txt file. I ran the cat command to view the contents. As shown in the CLI, I can see the first flag. I ran linps again, this time under the admin account, as it may have more privileges than the www-data service account. This could help linps gather more information during enumeration. After linps finished, I reviewed the output and decided to research the kernel version. I googled 5.15.70.051570- generic kernel exploit and found several promising resources. Among the different potential exploits, I decided to try the overlay FS exploit. The Datadog write-up on the overlay FS vulnerability CVE-2023-0386 was highly detailed and provided an excellent explanation on how to exploit it. It also includes a link to the exploit code they developed. I navigated to the Datadog GitHub repository hosting the POC. I reviewed the POC code to understand how to compile the code. In the comments, it notes to run apt to install libfuse-dev, and it also tells you the gcc command to run to compile the code. On the poc.c page, I'll click raw to display the contents to make it easier to copy. I highlighted the exploit code so that I could save it to a text file I'll name poc.c. I saved the poc.c contents to a file named poc.c on my system. I ran the apt command shown in the CLI to install libfuse-dev as required. I ran the required gcc command as shown in the CLI in order to compile the exploit code. I ran the ls command to verify that the POC was compiled. It appears that it was compiled successfully. I then switched to the target host and ran the wget command shown in the CLI to upload the POC to the target host. Based on the output, the file was uploaded successfully. Just to be sure, I ran the chmod command to enable the execute bit. I then ran the POC and received a lot of output. I now need to verify that the exploit worked. I ran the id command, and sure enough, it shows me as root. I ran the cd command to change directory to the root home directory, and also ran the ls-la command to view the contents. From the output, I can see the root.txt file containing the final flag. I ran the cat command as shown in the CLI to view the contents of the root.txt file, and with that, I have completed this host. In conclusion, by utilizing a combination of techniques, I successfully progressed from initial reconnaissance to achieving root privileges on the target host. These steps enabled me to collect critical information which provided a foothold on the target host through parameter tampering and command injection. Once I gained access, further enumeration revealed a viable privilege escalation path. By exploiting unsecured credentials, I was able to escalate 2 root privileges and ultimately capture the final flag. Thank you for tuning into this demonstration of the HackTheBox's 2 million vulnerable host. Thank you for also checking out the Cyber Overwatch channel. If you find this content informative and you are interested in cybersecurity, please like and subscribe to the Cyber Overwatch channel. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a question in the comments, or you can send me a message from the CyberSec website listed in the description. Until next time, keep learning. The only way to improve is to keep learning. Pragmatic1, signing off.